All right, on this episode, we are talking about making an offer. You found your dream house, how do you get it? My name is Samuel Shahan. I'm a real estate broker with the Chicago Home Partner team at Properties. All right, let's dive into this episode. Making an offer, you've already found your dream property. So the way that we're gonna start this out is I'm gonna run back and I'm gonna look at and run a CMA, which is a comparative market analysis. We've talked about it a couple times on previous episodes. This is essentially an evaluation that I, as a real estate broker, think that the property is going to be worth. Again, they're going to be marketing it at a specific price. We will say, hey, they're accurate with their price, or we think it's below, we think it should be higher, but it's going to be typically a range, and hopefully we can get within that range. So once we do that, we come back and we strategize how to get in that range. So do we need to come in a little bit lower? Do we need to come in aggressive? Do we need to have really strong terms? Do we make the terms a little bit more looser so that we can negotiate the purchase price a little bit stronger and say, hey, if you come down to our purchase price, we can tighten these other things up, which are going to have monetary things for you. So in Chicago, we actually have two contracts that we can actually utilize. So one is the Illinois contract. It's a 13-page contract that essentially has every single stipulation that could possibly be out there, and we have to just sign those. Now, the other one, which in Chicago we use a little bit more frequently, is the 4-page Chicago Association of Realtors contract. It is essentially a fill-in-the-blank contract. Because I am not an attorney, we can only fill them in, but it allows us to add additional riders that are going to pertain to you as a consumer for this property. It's depending on your circumstance. Once we fill out the contract, we actually write everything out. So everything is clear cut to the seller. So what is the purchase price? What are the terms that we want to negotiate? What's the close date? What is the mortgage that we're going to try and get? What is the earnest money that we want to put down? Everything is kind of laid out so that it's really, really, really specific, and there's no room for error. Once we submit that over to the seller's agent, we include a cover letter kind of talking about everything that's not in that contract and that we can kind of relay over to the seller so that they know a little bit more about you, what we're offering, and how to get you that best price as well as those best terms. So again, what we'll do is when we're coming up with that strategy, we actually do a phone call so that you know exactly what you're signing then. So we will run through every single paragraph of that contract so that you are educated more than what most buyers are when they're submitting their offer and signing a contract. That is a lot of money. What else? So once we submit everything, we've put the cover letter, the seller knows exactly what we're doing. The question that we get a lot from our clients is time frame. What is the time frame to hear back from a seller? Typically, this is hit or miss. On average, we like to say we normally hear at least a counter offer within 24 hours. It really is going to be dependent on the seller, their circumstances. Life gets busy. A lot of people have jobs, kids, everything. Sometimes that adds a little extra time. So we do say just have a little bit of patience. If it's a competitive offer, then we want to make sure that we are maybe putting a deadline on when we do hear back so that we know that there are not going to be other competing offers coming in. That being said, we're going to segue a little bit into multiple offers. Multiple offers are something that has been happening in our real estate market here in Chicago for pretty long time. It's really dependent on which neighborhood you're also kind of looking in. Multiple offers are not the worst thing in the world. I know a lot of people don't want to get into a competitive situation, but from our standpoint, it means that the property is really desirable. So I wouldn't always say, hey, shy away from being in a competitive multiple offer. It's going to reflect pretty well, again, when you go to resell that property. Maybe it's going to be a little bit more of a desirable property. Each individual transaction is going to be completely different than the other ones. So what we do is when we're strategizing, we want to make sure that we are talking to you and advising you on how we think it's the best way to position you in a multiple offer. Because not every multiple offer is going to be the same. We have clients who are in a multiple offer situation and they don't pay full price. We have other clients who've been in multiple offer situations and they pay maybe 5% more than the full asking price. Again, each one is going to be completely different. And so that's why we strategize with you to get you what you need in each individual transaction. So the other thing about making an offer is the back end. It's the negotiations of the actual purchase price and the terms. So what we do is we typically have counter offers. So after we initially submit our offer, the cover letter, talk about everything with the other side, they will most likely come back and say, hey, we either accept or we're going to counter offer. When we get those counter offers, again, it's going to be a strategy on our end to say, all right, we know where we want to end up. How do we get there? So that is something that we're going to, again, talk about in that moment. And each individual thing is going to be individualized towards you. So there's not, unfortunately, a strict answer for it. We just got to play it by ear. But typically what we see is most transactions take about 2 to 3 counter offers back and forth on average. So this episode is made for you. So if you have any questions about making an offer, multiple offers, negotiations, anything on those levels, put them down in the comments below. We're gonna reach out to you and say, hey, these are our answers for these questions. If you like this video, definitely give us a thumbs up. And as always, we would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have great content coming out with educational series as well as neighborhood highlights. And of course, always our showcase with our properties. So we hope to partner up with you on your next offer and hopefully get you that house that you are dreaming about.